Hey there, welcome to the back channel. In today's episode, I want to talk a little bit about work-life balance. I know that's a taboo topic for a lot of entrepreneurs. We are raised in a society that gives you to push, 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 and the pressure to be successful and the pressure to push your startup forward can get you to do what I did, which is cut out everything that wasn't work. And if you cut out everything that isn't work, you start damaging relationships and you damage your ability to actually enjoy life and even the wins in your startup. So I think having work-life balance is incredibly important, but I know it's not easy. So I want to share some of the things that have been impactful for me. And I wanted to make sure that I talked about some of the things that you might not see on your everyday mindfulness Twitter stream or blog around meditation, self-care, etc. So these three things are more specific and have been really important to me. So the first is actually figuring out a best way to manage your sleep schedule. Sleep is so impactful on everyone's health. For me, the amount of sleep I get completely impacts my ability to execute. It also really affects my mood. If I get anywhere close to 8 hours of sleep, which is not very often, I wake up and am incredibly happy, and being happy allows me to do a lot more in work, allows me to do a lot more in life. So I'm always trying to chase different things that help me get better sleep. And one of those things is to create a shutdown routine. Shutdown routine is what I do in order to start getting ready for bed. And you might have heard this advice before. I had heard that advice before, and it's hard advice to follow if you aren't much more explicit about what the shutdown routine looks like, what you do during it, and what time it starts. Because you can say, I'm going to shut down and I want to be in bed by 11 o'clock. But if you don't say, well, what does that mean for all the things that happen before 11 o'clock? You're going to end up at 10:30 and you're like, oh God, I got to shut down by 11. I haven't done X. I haven't done Y. I haven't brushed my teeth. I haven't finished that. And so thinking about what a shutdown routine means going like this. Okay, if I want to be lights out by 11 p.m., that means I have to probably be in bed by 10:30 because most of the time when I'm in bed, I do a couple last things. Maybe I journal, maybe I read. And so 10:30, I need to be in bed. If I'm in bed by 10:30, that means I have to start doing things like washing my face, brushing my teeth, walking the dog. How long does that take? All that stuff probably takes around 45 minutes. So that puts me to 9:45. And if I'm doing all that stuff by 9:45, well, what do I do between the time that I eat dinner and the time that I do all these things? You start working backwards and backwards and backwards. And all of a sudden, one of the things that triggers this whole ordeal is, man, I got to have dinner by 7:30. For me, I actually try to go to bed even earlier. I want to be in bed by 10:30, lights out by 10:30. And so I'm like, man, I really need to be eating dinner by 6:30 or 7 o'clock at the latest if I want to comfortably shift to going to bed. Without that shutdown routine, it can be way too easy to let work creep into the later part of the night, the part of the day when you're going to be shutting down and transitioning to sleep, which means you'll sacrifice sleep in order to get a few extra minutes of not that productive work time. So shutdown routine and explicit planning of the shutdown routine. That's one. If you're a startup trying to sell into enterprises, I'm sure you've been dreading getting some sort of certification like SOC 2 or HIPAA. I know I did when I ran my last startup, and it cost us a lot of important deals. Well, you're in luck because not only is there an awesome solution called Vanta that makes the process dead simple, but also funded listeners get $1,000 off their service just by going to vanta.com/funded. Check it out. Second is creating time and space that separates you from your digital devices. Your digital devices are what wreak havoc on your work-life balance. It's what attaches you to work even though you don't want to be working. That reflexive check of the phone to see what emails have come in, what social media posts you need to respond to for work, etc. It's maybe one of the worst things that has happened to us in our lifetimes. And so what's worked really well for me is trying to establish a routine that allows me to be separated from my phone and computer for periods of time. For me, that means during my shutdown routine, I actually plug my phone in outside of my bedroom. Plugging my phone outside of my bedroom means that as I'm shutting down, I don't get tempted to scroll Instagram endlessly like I have in the past. And when I wake up, my first thing isn't scroll Instagram, check email, start working. And by doing that, it gives me time and space to spend time with my family, spend time with my dog, and really create a boundary that allows me to settle into the day and not have so much nervous energy as I'm going to bed and so much nervous energy as I'm starting my day. This also leads to better sleep, as I'm not thinking about the last thing I looked at my phone, and I can sort of rest in bed as I'm waking up. And the last thing that I want to push people towards is delegation of all sorts. Delegation of all sorts means, one, explicit delegation. So telling people to do things on your team. I think a lot of founders have hero complex. Asking for help. Asking for help is a form of delegation that's like, I don't need to solve the problem myself. I'm going to apply my relationship and delegate this request to somebody else. Again, this hero complex for founders makes people feel like they shouldn't ask for help or that they need to prove to the world that they should ask for help. And so I want people to ask for help more. And the one specific form of delegation that I think is incredible for almost anyone that is earning a certain amount of money or has raised a certain amount of capital is hiring an assistant. Hiring an assistant can get some of the most mundane tasks off of your plate, the things that need to get done, but just waste time and just eat into your productive time doing much higher value tasks. Earlier on in my career, when I was a VC even, I noticed some entrepreneurs that we had backed had executive assistants, and I thought that was such a luxury that founders shouldn't be spending money on. I was like, they should be doing that. They should be conserving capital. And now that I'm much, much older, I realize how naive that was and how ridiculous that is. As a venture-backed founder, your investors want you spending time on the things that are most impactful, not the things that a executive assistant overseas can do. And in terms of creating space and time for yourself and your life and your balance, all those things are going to contribute to you performing better and avoid the thing that happens to so many founders, which is burnout. So those are my 3 tips for balancing your work life and your personal life. Please take these and other tips that you hear from your friends and on the internet very seriously. This is one of the things that founders don't spend enough time on, and it's something that I think can be a game changer when it comes to getting to the promised land with your startup. Thanks, and I'll see you next time on the Back Channel.